Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters, right here in selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest is Angel Hamilton. We're going to be talking about Fairy Creek. Did you hear about it in the news? It was all over the news. People protesting the cutting down of the forest. Well, she has become she's a documentarist anyway, and she likes to stand up for things that need to be made aware of. And you know what I say all the time, when you're aware, you begin to care. And half the time, we're just not aware of what's going on or the impact that it's going to have. This isn't a bunch of people just inconveniencing you. This is people that have stepped up because they believe something and that it needs to be changed. So she chose to volunteer as a documentary filmmaker, fundraising this project because Fairy Creek is close proximity to where her family live on the West Coast, and she's friends with the director. She had many friends in Fairy Creek blockade, and the only way that she could help on the campaign on her laptop from her home in Peterborough, Ontario. She's now moved to BC, where she always cared about nature and doing what helped various campaigns over the years. And she is emerged. There's so much here that we've got here on her, but I want you to go back and listen to the show that we did before. This is a woman that really stands up for something that really needs to be told. And again, a lot of people look at it, oh, it's just inconvenience, you're blockading, you're doing this and that. And again, if things are done peacefully, we do get the people that stand up for something and it becomes riotous or crippling to a point that is unnecessary. But when it's standing up to something that serves us as human beings or serves the planet that supports us human beings, we have to speak out, don't we, Angel? Because if we don't, we're going to pay the price down the road. And we're ignorant to the fact that we're going to pay that price down the road. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. What a wonderful introduction. I feel really passionate about the forest. I've had a very strong connection to trees and to the forest and to animals since I was very young. Spent a lot of time. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to have spent so much time with the nature, being in the wilderness in Ontario mostly, and having those summers being with the old growth up north in Temagami and Algonquin Park gave me the passion to want to be in documentary filmmaking and want to work as a volunteer in crowdfunding for Fairy Creek. I found out about it because a good girlfriend of mine in 2020 let me know that a bunch of my friends were going down to Fairy Creek, and I didn't really know where that was. I had to look it up on the map, and I realized it was like really close, maybe like 20-minute drive from where my family live. And I've spent a lot of time in Vancouver Island visiting my family. They've lived there for 35 years. So I found my girlfriend, Jen, who's the director, and I asked her, hey, like, I can't make it. My family's here and I have to take care of them during the pandemic, my mom and my grandma, but I have my MacBook Pro and I've done Kickstarters before. And I'm really grateful that our friends are wanting to do everything they can to create peaceful direct action and civil disobedience and creative response. A lot of my circus friends who know how to do aerials were the ones that were up in the trees. That knew how to coordinate and organize together with computers large amounts of a flash mob of people, and doing everything that they can to allow for conversation that really truly the First Nations, they are in a really complicated situation because there's a lot of economic conversation
Hmm.
about the logging and about the wanting to have a certain percentage of the logging, and that they didn't have before, but now they have the opportunity. So it's very confusing because they want to protect they have the values, they have the reverence for the trees and want to protect the trees and have that protected for them and for all of us. But at the same time, there's a debate and a
Hmm.
conflict within the First Nations Council, and thankfully, despite the fact that the violence, like there's been a lot of RCMP
Yes.
grievances and violence that we now find out about that now, about police brutality, about unnecessary, very uncivil. Like
Mm.
it's very in contrast to there was a documentary called The Stand that I got a chance to see at the Vancouver Film Festival a few days ago. And you could see the Haida Gwaii with the police at that time, the RCMP at that time, being very civil with one another because they were all part of a small community and they all knew each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And so there was a dignity, there was a civility, and that diplomacy in a democratic and also legal manner,
Hmm.
with the respect and reverence of the matriarchy of the elders, of the women, the First Nations women. And so during that blockade in the Stand documentary, you can see how there's this very different kind of energy than what's happened
Mm.
with the time of Fairy Creek, because the RCMP and the courts sided with the Teal Jones company, logging company, and that made it so that it was unnecessarily a lot of people taken by force
Yes.
in very violent ways, and it was really unnecessary, and could have with dignity and with a civil diplomacy, that could have been way more helpful. But thankfully, I want to tell everybody that the Pachadi, like I can't say them properly, but the First Nations of Fairy Creek, they actually decided to come together and have an opportunity to like a moratorium on logging until February of 2025. So at the moment, that Fairy Creek old growth forest is intact. It's not
Mm.
clear cut. It's not been logged. And one of the reasons why it's so important for Jen's documentary, and the producer is also the executive producer is Mark Akbar, and the other producer is Nettie Wild and Neil Livingston. And the group of these filmmakers are allowing for an opportunity to raise the awareness with Planet in Focus Film Festival for the Toronto premiere that's going to be on October, I meant October 17th at 7 p.m. And when people see that in Toronto, I feel really strongly that there's going to be more of this understanding of how we
Mm.
can work together to actually protect, actually create a park, actually create an opportunity for that forest to not be destroyed, to not
Right.
be a clear cut. And so thus people can not only go to Clayoquot Sound, which has been protected, and Walbran Provincial Park, which is right next door, has been protected, and that old growth. But this is really, there's just 1% of the old growth on Vancouver Island left. So this is why it's so critically important
Yes.
for people to watch the film and to find out about the film and to do what they can to write their MPs or to talk to people who are in decision-making power or find an opportunity to host a screening in their
Mm.
community at Fairy Creek. And they can find more information about Fairy Creek on the Small Change Fund. It's actually has like a fund where people can make their donations towards the film and the screening of the film, because that all costs money to market it and things like that. And it's really fantastic that there's been other documentaries that are also about Fairy Creek as well, that are out there. So I'm glad that the more the merrier.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I got mantra of when you're aware, you care. Um, and why should we care? Well, not only respect for its age and longevity, but let's look what an old forest gives us. The amount of life it supports, right? And when you look at a forest, it's so unjudgmental. It doesn't matter if you're an oak or a willow or you're young or old, it's there to support each other. When one tree goes down, life comes up from it. And there is a beautiful documentary done by Judy Dench on trees. And there's a wonderful slow movement where they look at the fiber optics of the trees or the way they communicate with each other. And like nothing is left out. Everything has a reach of it. And I think, why can we not be more like a forest? Why can we not support each other at whatever stage of life we're at? And look at all the life that it supports. And why can we not respect that and form that form of communication as well? So we need that old growth, not only out of respect, it's old, leave it alone, right? But also for what it gives back on so many ecological ways. And I think this, when we're looking at, and I've got nothing against money, we need money, but when it's money at the expense of, right? They grow trees to chop them down, to grow trees to chop them down. Okay, you need wood, go ahead and do that. But something that's been there for that length of time that supports so much life and supports us with the oxygen, uh, we leave it alone. I live in Nanaimo. If you don't like green, don't come and live here, because the mountains, everywhere you go, is green, 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 green trees. Millions and trillions of trees. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I think we're kind of losing our way in many ways of what we think sustains us and kind of the concrete and chrome life. If you like that, that's all very well, but you still need, the oxygen and everything else that the trees provide. So
You
let
know, you
us be
know,
aware.
I agree, Sarah. And I think what got me really interested in this is that I did grow up without water. Like even
Mm,
though Mallards Bay had a beautiful lake, Pigeon Lake, and whatnot, our well was dry. My single parent family struggled to put get the water truck to put water in the well. So I had to spend a lot of time as a child hauling water.
mm.
And it's interesting because I'm an Aquarian, so it's like the image of a water
Yes,
bear.
yes, your
But,
survival.
but that's what gave me, when I was 8 years old, like, as a child in grade 3, that's when I started actually learning about David Suzuki's daughter. That's when
Mm,
I started learning about the idea that water comes from the watershed. It comes from the
mm.
marshland. It comes from the old growth. It comes from the forest. And it's all connected, interconnected. So if we destroy like living beings in the biodiversity of this ecosystem that's so complex, that's irreversible, that
Right.
is been there for thousands of years. And once it's gone, it's forever gone. And we see that in other places of the world, when the deforestation and the clear cutting happen in other places, you see.
Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And the first thing that came to mind was like Easter Island, like
Mm,
things that are from other ancient civilizations and from like the Mayans, that they once they took away their jungle during their civilization, then they didn't have the water system. They polluted the water from the salts that got into the water supply from over intensive agriculture and from over consumerism. And so that's what kind of got me thinking about how it's so important for us to not make those mistakes from the other
Right.
civilizations and societies historically. We should learn from that,
Mm-hmm.
and we should do something about it, and
Mm.
stand up, because if we don't, then who's going to?
Right.
This is the kind of sentiment I got probably early on from like things like the Lorax, that that kept sticking in my head. If we're not going to do our best every day for our water supply, to allow for the next generations to think about 7 generations into the future, how they're going to enjoy Fairy Creek, how they're going to enjoy the water, how they're going to enjoy the sea lions. And they all depend, like the salmon, the sockeye salmon,
Yes.
bears, the eagles, they all depend on that forest ecosystem for their food supply, for their water supply.
Yeah.
And there's a specific kind of species of, moss and lichen and all these different kinds of things that we don't even know about, that are mystery, that
Mm.
we could cherish and have respect for and protect. And it's our duty as a human to do that. And I feel really passionate about it, because I always thought that it would always be there. I never thought that there would ever be a time like
Mm.
now, where logging companies are working with the governments to create legal binding injunctions that are allowing for people who would like to protect the forest to be criminalized. I never
Yeah.
thought that that would happen in a democratic
Short-sightedness,
society.
total short-sightedness. They're so thinking in the now and they're not thinking in the tomorrows. There's a moral compass here too. By it still standing and it still representing, it's showing the value of these forests elsewhere in the world and how important they are. On a slightly different topic, but a correlation in there. I've gone into podcast books, and the one I did was Our Forgotten Children, which is an anthology on how we're raising our children wrong in the system and how it needs to be changed. The next book is Our Forgotten Seniors. And it's almost the same type of thing. You're old, you're no longer valid. We want to put you out to pasture. We don't want to hear you anymore. We don't want to support you anymore. It's okay if you die off. Well, if this is the way we treat things that are old, do they not understand the value of something that's aged? A good wine, a good brandy, a good cheese, right? A good man or woman of wisdom. There's so much still to be abundant from it. And I do feel that we're very much in a society of new, new, new. I don't care if it's old, it's gone. And it's short-sightedness, but where is the education? Certainly not in schools, where we teach kids about the ecological system and how important it is. These kids are going to be the ones that suffer later on when there isn't enough water. We have had so many forest fires. How many trees have been destroyed? Here in BC, we had the worst ever in history last year. It's going to take years, years and years for that revitalization to happen. And if we're going to now then forest old, deforest old ones as well, this is time to take stock and look at what's really important.
Yeah, and I just found out before this call that 120,000 trees are going to be taken down at Stanley Park because of
Yes, I heard
looper,
about that. Yes.
because of the looper moth infestation, and that they're dead and dying. And this green space, this urban green space, that probably has, only maybe like 250,000 trees.
Yeah.
It's basically the vast majority of these old growth trees that have been protected in the city of Vancouver are going to be felled. And once
Mm.
they're done, and the courts can't stop that. The park board apparently is
Yes.
responsible for management. And if they have gross negligence and they decide to mismanage it because of a consulting company that is a logging company, that is what I was reading about on CBC just before this call, they are, in their full legal capacity to log it all today.
But
And
they folded the Parks Board and what they resurrected it. I mean, it's just it feels like who's qualified to be in there? And who are they representing? Are they representing the trees? Are they representing the people? Are they representing special interests? And why are we not speaking out about it and go, ha ha ah? We don't want special interests in there. If you have to cut a few trees down to save other trees, yes. Why are you cutting half the forest down? And why did they get disease in the first place and you allow it to spread so much? Mismanagement. We need to scratch you all out and insert a new gene.
Yeah, because from what I understand, that's all correct to me. And then also from what I understand is that there is special interest, i.e., develop condo developers. This
Oh
is,
God, you don't start putting condos in Stanley
and
Park. No.
that's the thing. Like
Yes.
that's where immediately I find out about this on the CBC before, and I'm reading it on my phone just now, and realizing, wait a minute, like why isn't a lot of people protesting this? Like
Because they don't
why is
know.
there not
No.
a big a blockade here in the city to protect and to help fight and to document what's happening? Because in my hometown in Peterborough, we were able to protect Jackson Park into perpetuity, and the reason why how we did it for this green space, this vast old growth forest right in the heart of Peterborough, Ontario. It's very large. I don't want to misquote the amount, but it's very large. It's been there for a very, very, very long time. But because there was a particular kind of pagoda bridge, then that architectural feature, according to this architectural firm and historical society, that's how legally they were able to put it into the law and put it
Mm.
into protection. And
Right.
that's where I find is so interesting because I don't know if Stanley Park has something like that, but perhaps it does. And
Well,
then
and
all
I
of a
think
sudden,
it's a national treasure. It's what many people come to see. Tourism. I mean, you need to get the tourist board on board. Could you imagine if you took, I think it's 7 kilometers around, if you had a circle of people all the way around? This is where technology of drones going in. And literally everybody that the drone is around speaking out why they're there, and then making that an international concern. Do you come to Vancouver also for the Stanley Park? Help save it and invite the world to do it because Stanley Park is known to the world if anybody knows Vancouver. And we don't want to see bloody condos in there. No way.
yeah, so I'm glad to talk to you and to the public about this right now to gain more awareness and education and do whatever I can to help out that situation as soon as I get off the phone call.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to come, not only awareness about how important it is to take it's not just about social media posts or blogs or
Mm.
going to documentaries like Fairy Creek. It's about having the connection with the forest
Mm.
every day, and then
Yes,
you're more likely to protect it. You're more
exactly.
likely to be passionate because you made an effort. That's what I feel very passionate about is that every day I make a challenge to myself, even if I'm in the city, to spend time in the forest
Yeah.
and go out of your way to be with the trees as much as you can. And that's what actually what how that's how we have a relationship with nature. And
Yeah.
wherever we are, if we have talked to the and have a relationship with the animals and the birds that are anywhere near us for any length of time, they know they get to know you,
Yeah.
and you develop a relationship, a communion, and that
Yes.
relationship is sacred, and that relationship with those trees is sacred. And so then you're more likely to be passionate about wanting to do whatever you can to protect them and to allow for them to continue to be, when we have that less of a transactional relationship and more of a sacred
Mm.
relationship and a respectful and reverence relationship.
Yeah, we see this all the time, many of the shows I do when we're talking about depression, anxiety, and stress. And we say, go out in nature. The trees have a communication with you like you have no
Yeah,
idea.
Dr. Susan Simard from UBC is coming out with this wonderful research and books about, like you were saying earlier, about the tree communication and the
Yes.
roots and with the mycelium networks, and how that there's a significant amount of research coming in that it's almost as if arteries, like the like a blood system, that's
Hmm.
like the sap is going through, and then there's connecting with the roots with the other trees to help them
Yes.
and to let them know if they need any help. And so there's a sharing, there's a relationship, there's a kinship
But
network,
not just with the trees, with
reciprocity,
us.
connection with animals and with us.
Yes. Yes. And the thing is, it's over and over again, people are saying, yeah, meditation, some people can sit cross legs and go hum ha, and that's their thing. But most people going out into nature. I remember going down an avenue of trees once and they were rustling like crazy. And I said, you're all talking at once. I can't hear you. They stopped. Every single tree stopped. And it's that we don't have the verbal conversation with them. We have the soul conversation with them, the heart conversation with them. And they are there not just to provide us oxygen and everything else that they provide us, but to provide us a sense of peace, a sense of being seen and heard in many ways. And it's like when you get that breeze going through it as well, those leaves are rustling, or you've got the ocean against the shore. Heaven. I live in an area where I have a green belt around me. Monkey puzzle tree here, trees all around me, a lovely green belt, deer that come into my garden around my kitchen window, the hummingbirds over there. Nature is so important. It isn't them or us, it's all of us. And if we understand how much nature gives us back, not just providing, food or this or that, it is how much it supports our equilibrium. And if we actually just went out into the forest, and so many places that are concrete cities are putting more greenery out there, encouraging people to grow green on their balconies, putting green down the street in some way because they understand the importance of it in so many ways. So, yeah, if you love a tree, you've got to get up there and step up for them.
That's how I feel about it too. So thank you so much, Sarah, for all of your wisdom and for inviting me to the show to tell people about the documentary Fairy Creek is at Planet and Focus Film Festival in Toronto, like I said, on October 17th at 7 p.m. But in Vancouver, there's going to be screening, and there's going to be a screening in Victoria. It's just we're figuring all that stuff out right now.
Right.
And all that information is going to be right now. If you Google Fairy Creek, that's the title of the documentary, and a small change fund, then you'll find it right away. It's like the first Google hit. And my the director Jen, she has it also on her website, Jen Murantez, but we can put it in the links,
Mm,
I'm sure, for listeners. And yeah, the cinematographer is really amazing as well. It's incredible. So I'm really grateful that the film has been made and that it's going to be screened. It's been 4 years in the making. So it's
mm,
a portrait of all of the activists, of all of their lives, and their involvement with getting arrested and having to heal after that, and being able to
mm,
tell people the total story from beginning, middle, and end. And that's really why I'm really grateful that this is being made, because a lot of the other documentaries are just snippets, and
mm.
for education and awareness, and for that's amazing, as part of the campaign. But this is the journalistic, opportunity for people to see how it's all coming together in a total story.
And at last, First Nations are being seen and heard and not pushed to the background. This is their voices coming forth, and their voice is sensible, right? They're not out there retaliation. They're not out there to gouge. They're out there to sustain not just the beautiful planet they're on, but the way of life which very much is understanding the stars and the seeds, and really living from that in a sense of respect. And I think that many of the First Nation people were there, and this is a good time even for the First Nation children that maybe don't know anything about it to stand up and
Yeah.
understand,
And the ones that I'm connected to are the community of the Tsawwassen Nation, the First Nations here in Vancouver, in Burrard Inlet. And Sundance Chief Reuben George, and many of his friends decided to go to Fairy Creek.
Mm,
And, it's been really inspiring, because I know that he, and the spiritual community and the Sweat Lodge have this really deep connection of the complexity of the situation, and the compassion, inquiry, but the understanding of that all my relations,
yeah.
that it's not just about the trees and the environment and protecting that. It's also about the dignity of
Yes.
all of us related. And if we could have more of that kind of civility and dignity, and reverence and love and compassion, then we would be less conflict, less war, be more peaceful abiding and more compassionate and inquiry and loving and kind. And we would have like so much more opportunity to collaborate and cooperate and find solutions. And
You're speaking my language completely, because this is what I feel is happening right now. We have been invited to rise up, not with pitchforks, not with hate, but with love, to raise our consciousness, to understand that kindness, caring, loving, compassion are the currencies. And the more what we invest at that, and the more we invest in each other, the more we will see less that divides us, but less that hurts us. I feel that Mother Earth right now, with her fires and everything else, is saying, I can't take your abuse anymore. Stop your abuse. I have provided you everything you needed, everything. And you're behaving like spoiled children, and you are just using and abusing me. And we've got to understand we are doing that, but we have the power to stop doing that. We have
exactly.
the power to give back, to rise up, to look at each other and go, okay, I may not agree. I may not be on your wavelength, but I respect where you're at. It's not about the angst and the divide. It's about how we come together. Every person that's in an orchestra may not be the best of friends, but they respect each other as musicians. So why can't we find a commonality, a common cause? And why can we not pour ourselves into it to raise us up? Because when our frequency rises, and scientists now have backed this and literally have done a science show this week, mathematical science show this week, science and spirituality. Scientists are understanding those that live on a higher consciousness are living on a higher frequency, and they cannot knowingly do harm to anyone else. To do so would be to harm themselves. I mean, imagine if we all rose up to that frequency. We'd be looking to support and do good for planet and one another. We would live in a world of peace like we have never, ever, ever known. That is the path I want humanity to take. But unfortunately, we have to stand up and use our voices, not in aggression, peacefully. And we do not need the aggression from the police. If you are a person that's a bully at heart, please don't put the uniform on. This is the people you are representing. They're speaking out against something. Respect that. Stand with them. Be courteous, and they'll be respectful back. This is a two-way street. Keep your bullying to yourself. We do not want it. It does not serve anyone. And it's up to each and every one of us to be the peace and the love that we seek and stand up for what needs to change and how we need to value things.
Well said. You remind me of my mom and my grandma, and especially my mom, because as soon as she shared with me about her thoughts about what was going on with the world, it's very similar to what you're describing.
We know, the world is up a creek right now, and it's but why? It's because we've been taught. Fear is a big driving force, greed and opulence and disconnection, a lack of self-value. All of these issues is something we need to take care of ourselves with the help of others. That's the reason I do what I do. I've got all the help you need right here on this network, right? Whatever you're looking for, I know there's somebody that can help you on that journey, but you've got to be willing to take the journey. We can protest peacefully. We can speak out about why it's wrong and hit the moral compass amongst everyone. This isn't just about cutting trees down. This is about saving the ecological system, but having respect for its age, its contribution, and respecting all that it does. Because if that's the way you feel about a forest, how do you feel about people who are too old for you? And you're going to do the same with them, chop them down? We have got to that society where people are looking at that, and we need to draw the line.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I'm really grateful to be able to have this opportunity to talk to you about it. And I really hope and pray that people who watch the film and actually feel that connection and go visit. I think
Mm,
that's the thing I want to leave everybody with is to go visit Fairy Creek. Go,
Yes.
go there. Go for a hike. Go for a walk.
Now, where is it on the island?
Experience it. It's in the south of Vancouver Island. It's over kind of inland. It's not that far off from the ocean, maybe like a half an hour drive. But it's kind of very beautiful. You know, Vancouver Island used to be so much old growth forest of all of these beautiful
Mm,
thousands of years of trees, of cedars, and of so many different kinds of trees. And now it's just a couple of parks, and Fairy
mm.
Creek is unprotected. And unfortunately, I think once it's removed, we can't have it back, and it'll
No.
just be more of the same of condos in suburbia, and that'll be very sad and tragic for so many people and for the animals. And I think
Yes.
that's what we need to remember is that
Yes.
this
We're
is
not the
a
only living forms on this planet, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and like I feel a connection with the wild animals, the sea lions especially,
Mm.
because I've spent a lot of time communicating with them and making noises, and that they swim by in like little groupings by my family's property, and the whales, and just these are so important, these relationships to First Nations especially. And I think that they deserve to be living like sentient beings. They deserve to have their life and their
Yeah.
existence, not just our own.
Yeah. I'm for all life matters. I might leave out the mosquito.
Oh, of course, yeah, that's
But
it.
all life matters because everything has a job to do. We are the ones that take up the most space and they take up the most resources. If you look at all animal species out there, they don't do the same. They respect the land from which they come from. And I think if we paid attention to our wildlife, if we paid attention to our forests, we would rethink, refeel, and react in a different way. But I think most of it is, educating on, please, right now, listen to this. Okay, maybe you're waiting to see the documentary if you live in BC, go to Stanley Park, right? Start talking to people. As I said, how many people will it take for that 7 kilometers all the way around? And a drone, everybody, while they're there. And yeah, it may take a while, but imagine that impact and putting it out everywhere in the world, right? And this is, we've got to understand we have a voice. And when we use our voice impactfully, it does make change. But you've got to make people understand why the change needs to be, or why we need not to change in certain aspects and leave things alone. But if we don't educate them as to the why, they don't care, right? So let's make people aware and care by understanding the impact. Yes, you may live elsewhere, but what's happening on the island can happen where you are. And when we've destroyed everything, what's there to support us or support any other life form? Right? We're seeing it in the Amazon. Look what they're doing. They're cutting half the Amazon down to make agriculture to farm animals, which takes up more water and creates more. Oh, I can't remember the fumes that it sets out, but it's
Methane
methane. Thank you. Sets out the methane.
decreases oxygen supply because the
Yes,
the oxygen is created by trees
exactly.
in the forest, especially the old growth.
Yeah.
And the biodiversity is where medicine is. That's where that's what I learned from so much of my schooling, is that if it hadn't been for the diversity of species and such a complex web of the ecosystem, then so much of our herbal medicines, so much of the things that we
Yes.
need when we're sick, that we can't have anymore. They're not going to be there for us. And then fresh water and oxygen we take for granted. But if they're gone, then there's no more us. We're extinct. And I think that that's why it's so important to protect it. And before it's gone.
Well, it affects our waters.
Yeah,
If the forest gone, right? It affects everything. Those trees are there for a reason, right? And we're also in a world now, we actually don't need to chop trees down and use wood. we have got other sources of materials that we can create and build from, right?
Yeah, like
So,
I was just recently learning about how algae and mushrooms can be,
yeah,
and also things like
hemp,
coconut husks
yes,
can be like a form of cement.
yeah,
There's a not just like renewables and solar and wind. There's these really inventive ways that we can create alternatives to wood. And this Teal Jones company specifically is making furniture and like instruments. And I just feel really passionate that there could be other alternatives, that there could be other
yes,
things that they could be using
yeah.
and
You do
construct.
not need the old forest to do that, right? Absolutely not. And this is where we need to go. You know what? We've been far too opulent for far too long. And we've been conned into believing we need more than we really need. Buy, it's going to make you happy. And then we end up with things that get trashed or destroyed, or we just don't care about them. And because we were told it will make us happy, and it's not. Happiness is not on the outside, it's on the inside. And when you connect with nature, and when you connect with source, energy, divine energy, to whatever you want to call it, you resonate from your soul to your heart, to your spirit, to your clarity of mind, then you actually understand that living from the inside out is where the true commerce is, and that we don't need the extra. Everybody needs to make a living. I understand that, but maybe we need to relook at how that living is being made and why are we killing something in order to do it. So lots to be done there. I briefly want to just go over what we the show that we did a few years ago, actually, back in 20, where the beautiful show about birthmark. I want people to listen to that as well, because it's a great show with what you covered there. Can people still access that show?
L.A. Alfonso, the director, put Birthmark on Vimeo on demand. So
Great.
anybody can download or rent that film. It's a feature film. It's a creative nonfiction, personal documentary about the birthmarks and the stories that we inherit from our parents and our culture. It's
Mm,
interviewing people with birthmarks, and it's also his own Super 8 footage and interviews with his parents, his grandparents, his aunts, his uncles, and cousins about his experience of discovering the bad luck birthmark and how
mm,
he transformed it and was able to turn around that story by exposing it as something that was
right.
secretive into the public, and was able to create ritual and ceremony and art, creative response to be able to heal that forever.
Mm, yeah,
And for me, that's really the making of the birthmark movie. The process of it, the experience of it, was so healing, so transformational, inspirational.
yeah.
Yeah, now he's doing a PhD on the Me movie. So it's very much about all of the personal documentary filmmaking and what he calls self-inscribed cinema from around the world. It's
Mm,
a whole database that he's amassing, and then making another feature film about not only himself, but also all the people who have made a movie about themselves, and the
mm,
self-reflexivity and how that can be an agent of social
yes.
change, and of transformational healing. Because when you put yourself on the camera, and the courage that takes to do a video diary or TikTok
Mm.
or any kind of self
Podcast.
broadcast, then that allows for the opportunity to hear your own voice and to see your
Mm,
own video, which can be
mm,
helpful for self-development, personal
yeah.
development, emotional healing.
Yes, excellent, wonderful. I know you're very passionate about this and getting these stories out, and we need people like you out there to do it because if we don't, then we don't know, and we need to know. We need to know what's going on. We need to know how we can be a part of it. We can't. As I say, when Fairy Creek was there, my daughter wanted to go up there, but she had, I think she might have even been pregnant and had one baby. And like husband said, no, not at this time. We'll do something else. And that thing is, if you can't be a part of that, be a part of something else, but don't just sit idly by. And also, you don't have to pick everything in the world to save. Find there's something that's really meaningful to you and really put your time into that. But if we don't change within ourselves and support the change that is needed around us, we're going to continue on this spiral path down where we really should be finding our wings and propelling up.
Yeah, I really agree with the part about the wings. I've always imagined, because my name's Angel, of having
Mm,
wings, and I feel the flight that is the soaring of like an eagle above a lot of the petty problems, and
mm,
having the confidence to take action as a conscious leader and being able to do something. And that's
yes.
why I'm so grateful to volunteer whenever way I could to get people to I basically just like messaged everyone I know. Like,
And that's
hey,
sometimes
like
it's all it
this
takes.
is what's
We have
happening.
social media, we have email, we have contact. Let's talk about it. Now, it's don't impose people, because we do have some people that want to ram it down throat. Why aren't you bothered by it? It's that, are you aware? And can you do anything to support it? And if you can't, could you talk about it to other people? Because maybe they want to, right? It's always got to be invitational. We can make the changes if we're invitational or not dictational. So find something you're passionate about, educate people on it in a way that is invitational, inquiring where they want to know more and they want to know how they can participate. And that's what this is about. So, how do people get hold of you, my dear?
Oh, anybody can get a hold of me. They can Google Angel Hamilton filmmaker and they can come across angelhamilton.com. My email is at the end of the website and it's fractal butterfly prod, like productions at icloud.com. They can send me an email if they want to know more about Fairy Creek project. They can also contact me through Angel Hamilton Filmmaker on Facebook, Angel Hamilton Filmmaker on Instagram, and Angel Hamilton Filmmaker on TikTok. They can find me on LinkedIn, Angel Hamilton. I'm very easily foundable. And my Twitter is Angel Hamilton 8, and my threads as well, Angel Hamilton Filmmaker.
Excellent. And if never know somebody listening, wants somebody that is a documentarist to share a story. And we've got to understand stories make a difference. Stories matter. We need to speak them, we need to share them, we need to impact them. Excuse me. Sorry, stupid bronchitis. Uh, Coughing and things. Anybody who'd like to give me a new set of lungs, I'd like that. Thank you. But it is through talking about it, sharing about it, having the conversation. I'm always saying to people, have a podcast party. Everybody listen to the podcast, take notes, and then what did you get out of it? And share that. Somebody really heard that. Somebody really heard this. Got a rounder picture on it, and it's so stimulating. So
Yeah, such a wonderful idea. I'm going to do that.
wonderful. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing. My apologies. Um,
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. And have a really great day. And sending you so much healing love and so much gratitude to be able to share with you about Fairy Creek today. I look forward to
my
sharing this show with everybody. Have a really great day.
Fairy Creek. Let's save that. Let's save, Stanley Park and anywhere else that's been raped, pillaged. So we are the voice they need. So until next time, folks, bye for now.
Bye for now.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.